Greetings all YouTubers, this is Jonathan, aka Johnny the Whiz Kid. I haven't posted anything since I did my Godzilla 98 counter review, which was 4 years ago, but now I feel this is a big deal to talk about. I've been observant over the fanbase of Star Wars since the prequels came out, and I couldn't bring myself to speak my voice openly on the internet about how I feel about the prequels, because it'd be the same for me to speak openly about how I feel about Godzilla 98. But then when The Last Jedi came out, it felt different to now speak openly about Star Wars in general, as well as The Last Jedi. First, I like to begin with something personal. When I watch movies, I tend to enjoy them in my pure innocence and worry about them in depth later if it interests me. Years ago, I was ignorant about why Godzilla 98 was so disliked, and that was because to them, it wasn't a real Godzilla movie. I tried defending it, and I got backlashed for it. It's been that way for many years, and I learned to keep my opinions to myself from now on. Until I watched famous YouTubers like Angry Video Game Nerd and Nostalgia Critic. When both said the same thing about Godzilla 98, it made me mad and want to defend the movie just the way they make their reviews. It cost me 5 years to do it, and it made me proud to accomplish something I did all on my own, but more importantly, that I got my words out. If you're curious about why I defend the movie, you can check it out on my channel. But what I'm trying to say is, I tend to stay away from critics and hardcore fanbase on franchises that they take way too seriously because my own opinion values nothing to them because they don't believe I know what Godzilla is and that I won't accept that Godzilla 98 is not Godzilla at all. Well, to my defense, it's my own opinion. People should learn to respect and not backlash me about it, and technically speaking about this movie, it's a different Godzilla. What I mean by a Godzilla is that it literally translates to big terrifying lizard lurking about in New York City with its own goal. Again, check out my review to learn more about it. And finally, I fucking know what Godzilla is! I watched the Japanese original movies as well as the English version, and I personally prefer the Japanese one because it has more stuff, and the English dubbing just sounds bad to me. But I'll forgive it for being a very old movie, and I like the reporter Steve Martin. But aside that, I know what he does even before I saw the 98 Godzilla as a kid. I've seen the toys, I briefly saw the cartoon show, and glanced one of the Japanese films. I know what he does and his traits of being indestructible by the military. But I was a kid back then. I still liked the movie, and I even had those toys during the late 90s, and the cartoon show was just incredible to me. It was a different Godzilla. Not the Japanese one, but a different, misunderstood one. But I'm still a fan of the one everyone hates no matter what better Godzilla gets made. It's my opinion, please respect that. Sorry for being off topic, but the point of this is at first when I watch a movie, I watch the movie without criticizing things, without nitpicking. So when I saw The Last Jedi, yes, I enjoyed it at first, but personally, I liked The Force Awakens a bit more, and that was because I felt Luke didn't do much in the film, even though I understood what he was trying to do really. Despite that, I hadn't been invested in seeing people's criticisms on the film because like many times, I like a movie that nobody likes, and when I try to talk about it, it gets backfired for having an opinion. So for 8 months, I let it be, and only few people tell me they hated it for minor reasons, just like the prequels. What I didn't realize was Luke's character, and it was clearly in front of me what Luke became, and I totally forgot what Luke was like. I guess I was trying to make myself shy away from the original trilogy because I only watched them on special occasions. But I was curious about how Luke has been that I wanted it to be revealed the moment we finally see him after so many years and wonder what he's going to do. Turns out he's different, and I'm very surprised, but I didn't invest myself in that as I should have. It almost makes me ashamed of myself, but sometimes being ignorant is bliss unless you become curious later on. Anyway, it wasn't long until I then started to become interested in learning what was so bad about it. I'm watching reviews on it, taking notes on what's wrong with it. It's all over the place. Now when I talk about it with people, I learn other things about what went wrong with the movie, and what I didn't expect to hear are political agendas. Then there's the angry fanbase, which doesn't surprise me, but I've never seen responses to angry tweets like Ryan Johnson calling fans man-babies, or bigots, or sexist, or racist. I mean, what the fuck's going on? About the movie, there are a lot of things I didn't like at all. The cliche suspenseful tension and relief success with the noble sacrificial hero doing her job, how it makes no sense when you open doors in space and people don't lose oxygen or getting sucked out like realistically, not even using oxygen tanks, no gravity laws, no character development with Finn, Poe, Rey, or Luke. Poor Luke. Throwaway characters like Rose, Holdo, DJ, Phasma, and Snoke, because again, lack of character development like no backstory or connection to anything, unnecessary subplots, but really just bad storytelling. These are all things that I have ignored before I finally started to invest my interest in people's feelings on why this movie was so bad. And now I know. And the more I learn about it, the more it saddens me. And this isn't because of their influence that lured me in. It was my decision to make. I care about Star Wars. I declare myself a fan. It's just that I do not behave like a hardcore fan. I don't send death threats to actors or behave inappropriately. But really, it's because I hate arguing battle that goes nowhere because we don't share the same opinion. Or at least we cannot act like civilized fans. But yeah, harassment has been going on to actors who had to delete their Twitter accounts just to avoid online bullying. Good God! You see what I mean? I didn't understand it at all until I hear it from many other YouTubers who reviewed the movie and how they feel about it. But personally, how they felt towards Disney's crew director Rian Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy, who are apparently social justice warrior or SJW, that possibly turned this movie into a feminist theme thing? Basically, a majority of the lead casts are female. Rey, Leia, Holdo, Rose, you name it. And I'm told that Disney believes we have a problem with that because we're sexist? That we're against women? I don't know what this is about, but a lot of Star Wars fans dislike Rey because she's too powerful, a Mary Sue kind of girl, like too perfect, etc, etc. But what does that have to do with being a sexist? Because I'm not. I like Rey a lot. I want her to be the new protagonist. She's just underdeveloped, that's all. This has nothing to do with me disliking women. I like women. I'm attracted to women. I watch anime girls all the time with their sexy revealing legs and skin everywhere doing badass stuff. I can even admit I'm a pervert, but the point is, women are not the problem. It's their character. Nobody starts from the top. Everyone works for their spot. They earn their place before they can do great big things. Rey being a Jedi doesn't come to her on a silver platter. She came to Luke for training and she gets so little of it that it makes her the top of the galaxy in Star Wars and bests Luke easily. And this is just one example out of everyone else that I won't get into because I'll be here for hours. But anyway, being accused of sexist, homophobes, racist, or whatever is just amateur, disrespectful, and unprofessional behavior in the richest company in the world I have ever seen just for giving any criticism. And even if you are one of those things, it's nobody's goddamn business to learn that anyway because that's personal and it's intruding in your life. But Disney nor the fanbase has any right to make false accusations like that to people. It's mortifying. And I'm labeling some of that on Disney because I know what it's like to be accused in a similar fashion for complaining about a particular popular franchise for its lack of vocal performance and charisma in the character. And everyone backlashes me for not being a fan, but being a troll instead. I've been called many names just for voicing my criticisms, and it has done that to other fans as well. Their attitude is imperative proof of their professionalism that doesn't listen to fans at all and just completely disregards it as irrelevant whining. And that's something else I want to talk about that's important, and that's the fan base. Ever since the prequels, everyone has been bashing on poor old George Lucas. He didn't deserve this shit, and neither did the actors. What is wrong with you guys? Can't you control yourselves at all? It's probably what led George to sell the rights to Disney in the first place. At first he didn't want to make any more because of the fan base always being angry at him. Seriously, Jar Jar Binks, Jake Lloyd playing young Anakin? I like to go on record and say that of all the Star Wars movies, Episode 1 is my all-time favorite. Famously for it being the most hated film before Last Jedi, but as a kid, it was the most amazing movie I've ever seen with memorable battles. The commercials got me hyped about everything, and I watched it many, many times. I like Jar Jar Binks, despite his role being a bit of a waste other than being annoying to others, is actually supposed to be clumsy and funny overall. I pictured him to be like Chewbacca as a substitute for the prequels because he was like a sidekick, but very likable. Nobody liked Jar Jar Binks, and because of all the hate the poor actor has been given, guess what it almost caused him? Suicide. It really hurt him that badly. Even as actors, they're still people like all of us who are just doing their job. Thanks to his kid, he has a reason to stay alive, and eventually, after 20 years or more, people started apologizing to him. That's growing up, and it's something we should all learn to do. Jake Lloyd, dear God, what have you all done to him? He quit his acting career due to endless bullying at school. He even got rid of all of his Star Wars merchandise because nobody liked his acting. He was even rewarded as worst supporting actor until he was beaten by the one who played Jar Jar Binks. Jake's life was pretty much ruined because of us, and I feel so bad for the guy. Especially when he was that young. Mark Hamill couldn't believe it either, and he understands clunky dialogue, but even he defended Jake Lloyd for doing what George Lucas wanted him to do. But all the hate directed at George is probably why he didn't want to do any more Star Wars, and probably ended up selling it to Kathleen in the first place. But it was actually because he needed money for his crew and his movie studio while he continues making independent films. But after The Last Jedi, Kelly and Daisy both deleted their accounts for the same reasons, and I'm sure you can guess what those are. All that going on, I think the ones you should be angry at the most is the director and president, Rian Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy. Leave the actors alone who are just doing their job. They have nothing to do with why the movie is bad. Horrible writing, horrible directing, and horrible storytelling. I feel why the franchise has been like this is everyone's fault. Kathleen Johnson and the fan base. I'm not saying you shouldn't express your criticism of the movie. As a matter of fact, I agree now about how bad it is. It's just our behavior has gotten out of hand a lot. Take all of your anger on the director and Kathleen. Just leave the actors out of it. With all that said, I can honestly say the franchise may as well be dead because there's nowhere to go with the terribly flawed and wasted developing characters that never got much reveal in the backstory, and it's gotten to a point where we just don't care anymore. If we feel Disney really screwed up, why continue to give them any more of your money if they're not going to listen to any of our criticisms? If they're going to continue pointing fingers at us in accusations of being bigots or whatever, then we're just wasting our time with them. If they don't care about the franchise, why should I? Why should we? George did a much better job, and I feel so bad for him to go in this direction because of us, and maybe we could have gotten better movies regarding episodes 7 and 8. What's done is done. I really would have liked it if they ever considered to remake episode 8 with better storytelling, which I heavily doubt that'll ever happen. But episode 9 is already in filming process, and I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what to do myself, but if you want my advice, from experience at least, be more civil. That's all I ask. Give criticism in your own way if you want, but be civil. No death threats or bullying, because that ain't gonna get anywhere. If you lost faith in the franchise, if this isn't the Star Wars direction you want, then just stop seeing their movies and hope that Disney will listen to you. Same with Michael Bay's Transformer movies and the female Ghostbusters. Just stop seeing it. Thanks for listening. If you're welcome to give your own criticisms to my personal opinions, and if you're expecting any more reviews since my Godzilla counter review, make no mistake, there will be a review. It's just taking me a long time, but they will be finished, so stay tuned. I uploaded 2 videos if you're curious. Check them out, and may the Force be with you.